Did your school have a school genius that was frighteningly talented or intelligent? Where are they now, and what are they currently doing? My school genius was a bossy know-it-all. Like a badly written Lisa Simpson. She was bullied a lot. I was the runner-up smart kid. Smart enough to be smarter than everyone else, but under the radar enough to avoid daily hatred. I went through a roller coaster relationship with her. We were friends, then we weren't. Then we were, then we weren't. It was my fault, really. I was an asshole of a kid. Her mum was really overbearing about her studies and extracurricular activities. To the point that even other kids would whisper about it, and the poor girl had multiple breakdowns. I don't know what happened to her after primary school. I don't even know if she's still alive, tbh. Poor girl was destined to be one of two things, a genius, or a statistic. That kind of pressure can really damage a kid. I'm still friends with the smartest guy in my school, and pretty much that I've ever met. His uni entrance score was the highest my high school has ever had before or since. He's married to a great woman and has a couple of terrific kids. He is a VP in a global chemicals company. And he's still a terrific bloke. Yup. She was a literal genius and had the papers to prove it. And despite being ridiculously ahead of everyone in the school, she was so nice. She didn't mind helping us idiots. She was also very pretty and popular with just about everyone. I have no clue where she is now in life. Hopefully not depressed or wasting away. Got a job right out of high school, for the best gaming company in our country, basically our local Google. His starting salary was bigger than my parents who've worked the same job for 10 years. He spent every paycheck on video games, and was fired after like 3 months for being lazy. Edit, more info. He decided to take a break year, mostly stayed at home playing video games. Actually met his current GF playing Counter-Strike, so he has that going for him. Brains and talent are nothing compared to the power of sloth. Turns out that sloths are the most intelligent beings on Earth. They just can't move fast enough to let anyone know. This guy was beyond genius, I mean just knew a little bit of everything valedictorian etc. He was rather sheltered by his own choosing. Got a full ride scholarship to MIT. In his first semester he discovered he really liked sex and alcohol. Ended up dropping out after that first year and had a pretty fucked up life for a decade or so. Something, I don't know what, woke him up and he turned himself around and is currently an executive for one of the world's largest construction firms. Greater than in his first semester he discovered he really liked sex and alcohol. Oh, you mean he went to college? My school genius got a 5 out of 5 in Calculus 2 AP when he was a junior in high school. He was a cocky motherfucker, but no one denied the kid was a genius. Loved learning, and loved being smart. He had completed most AP classes by the time his senior year had started. He got accepted to MIT for physics. He got drunk one night his freshman year, scaled a building on campus with his friends, and fell off, killing himself in Darwinian fashion. It's truly one of the most ironic things I've ever seen. The smartest person I've ever met died in the dumbest way I had ever seen. A physicist that didn't obey the law of gravity. Oh, he obeyed it all right. School genius was an absolute sweetheart, and still is. He received 98% on the International Baccalaureate, and went to Oxford to study law. We are Australian, so that is a big deal. He has since returned and become a corporate lawyer earning huge amounts, met his now wife at a corporate event, and at the age of 36 has 2 beautiful little girls. His parents were extremely well off, but he also worked his ass off to get to where he is today. He is one of those rich white guys that fortunately doesn't take anything for granted, and knows how lucky he has been, but can also hold his head high because he has worked hard for everything he has. Are you his wife? Couple. One got rejected from MIT, supposedly because they had too many Asians, ended up going to Caltech and now works at JPL. There's actually an interview of him going around talking about one of the Mars rovers. He's still comically awkward. Another went to Harvard on a full academic scholarship and was a VP of a Fortune 500 before the age of 30. So he ended up getting better education in nicer weather. That turned out well. A. If you want something done, go to MIT. If you want the theory, go to Caltech. If you want complaints, go to Harvard. My friend Ian was the smartest kid in school. He was 2 grades above me, got a perfect score on SAT, and actually wrote the skeleton of a play for the drama club. Me and some other people higher up in the club all sat down with him and our drama teacher and did some editing, like made lines shorter, easier to memorize. He used really big words, added or changed characters so we could use more people in the production. He jokingly applied to Yale just to see what would happen. He actually got in and they really wanted him to go, just not enough to lower prices enough for someone from Hicksville, Michigan to go there. He ended up going to Michigan Tech. I don't remember what his major is. I went to a small high school, about 70 kids per grade in Kansas. The genius in the grade above me works at the Large Hadron Collider in Europe. He was a really good dude. The best story that stuck out for me is he used to hang out with another guy, Eric, who was pretty hardcore football player and wrestling no one wanted to mess with. One day I heard a teacher say jokingly, it's scary they hang out together because he's smart enough to build a bomb and Eric is crazy enough to use it. There was this one kid who was autistic. He could memorize basically anything in seconds, but is practically impossible to communicate with unless you were someone close to him. Don't know how he's doing now, but from what I've heard he still needs full-time support from his parents. I worked a telecom job with a guy who was quite autistic. If you told him your birthday, he would instantly tell you what day of the week you were born. He would also tell a lot of people what their zip code was as soon as they'd tell him what town they lived in, before they had a chance. It was beyond extraordinary. The guy was also beyond socially awkward. He would walk up to a full table in the break room and just linger very close to people. I'd always try to sit a ways away from him in the cubicles because he was very loud on the phones. He also didn't understand proper sales speech. I was sitting near him one day because all the other seats were full and I hear him say very loudly, "Well, ma'am, if you'd stop asking questions, the call would be over in about 5 minutes." I fell out of my chair laughing. The guy was a mathematical genius, but they had to let him go because he couldn't keep people on the phone or make sales. I think they should have allowed him to explain that he was autistic. People had no idea. Edit in parenthesis above. Greater than if you told him your birthday, he would instantly tell you what day you were born. I read this as you saying I was born on December 2nd, 1995 and him saying you were born on December 2nd, 1995. Went to university for statistics, switched to philosophy, got job at Quiznos, married ugly woman who took all his inherited money, haven't heard from him in years. So my high school was a gifted school. With the exception of scholarship purposes, we all went to top 30 universities. But still, I didn't meet real genius until I went to college. This guy, 1 year above me, went on College Jeopardy and annihilated everyone. He was tens of thousands of dollars ahead of everyone every round. He won overall. Graduated from our school, then went to our rival, MIT, and got his PhD. And now he's a /the principal engineer at Intel. One of my friends knew him personally. He said he was weird as shit. But being weird as shit is kind of normal in Nerd Haven. Is that why Intel is doing so poorly lately? Hey, Ice Lake just came out. Yup, my best friend. She's still freakishly smart. Just got a STEM PhD from Harvard, and felt guilty that it took her so long to finish. She finished in 6 years after skipping a grade in school. She's 27 and has a freaking STEM PhD, and feels like she hasn't done enough. That girl is gonna cure cancer. She's going to cure cancer, refuse to patent the technology, and do everything in her power to make sure it's a super low-cost drug everybody can afford. That drug will save millions of lives. She'll win every prize ever. And then she'll be sad that she couldn't make the miracle drug cure cancer and diabetes. Although I'm sure it seems unfair that they are not satisfied even though they are clearly doing amazing. I really feel bad for them. Imposter syndrome is rampant in the STEM fields, and it's all too common to be way too hard on yourself to the point it can cause serious mental health issues. I had the school genius in my class. She always had the best grades in all school. Could have gone to med school if she wanted. Went to law school because her parents were both lawyers. It took her almost twice the time to finish it. Where I'm from, it's 4 years for the degree, and she took 7, and is currently working as a shop assistant at Primark, a clothing shop in Europe. I heard she had a major meltdown in uni, because her grades weren't top of the class, and she didn't know how to handle it. Did she breeze through high school, getting good grades without learning to study, and then got overwhelmed when she found out that uni wasn't as easy? It sounds like she was doing okay in terms of grades, but couldn't handle there being around many smarter people. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a chapter about this phenomenon, where students of top schools underperform because they struggle with not being the smartest kid in class anymore, maybe in his book David and Goliath. I went to middle school with an incredibly intelligent boy. Super smart, very attractive, was the adopted son of the wealthiest family in town. Died from a brain tumor when we were 13. That was about 40 years ago, and I still wonder how his life would have turned out. I had a similar comment. Science high school classmate. Very smart, very handsome, but socially awkward. Died in 11th grade from a brain aneurysm. Guy was bullied a lot, but he was going places. He ended up working for Google, as some sort of senior programmer, I believe. Full ride to Yale. We all thought he'd become a world-renowned scientist and cure cancer or whatever, but he became a venture capitalist instead. Now C-suite at a prestigious VC firm with close ties to Mark Zuckerberg. ETA, ooh, just thought of another. Super gifted girl who skipped like 3 grades. We were actually pretty good friends, and she was clearly a genius, but also massively troubled, was sleeping with 30-plus-year-old dudes as a 14-year-old girl. She is now a working artist and up-and-coming fashion designer, which is very cool. Sleeping with 30-plus-year-old dudes pedophiles. Not from my school. But there was this kid who is my mom's friend's son. When I was young, my mom would tell me stories of how good is he at studying and how he's a gifted student and probably going to be a doctor/lawyer and earn lots of money, maybe as a way to compare me to other kids to motivate me in studies. The way that they praised him, I legitimately thought as a kid that he's going to be a future president or something. Fast forward many years later, that guy decided to drop out of school and went to be a tattoo artist. He has full sleeves on both hands too. Heard that his parents were disappointed that he turned out that way. But hey, at least he's doing what he loves right now and not be forced to be what his parents' vision of him. I went to school with Nigel Short. I'm not sure what his ranking is nowadays, but if I remember rightly, he's a big name in the chess world. He loves to do and say very questionable things. Yes, he is a great player, but I can't look over the fact he was invited to an Australian tournament a few years ago that he participated in, and won, and gave himself the Brilliancy Prize. Who does that? Greater than gave himself the Brilliancy Prize. Who does that? It's like some weird-ass quiz where you reveal the answer first. He went on to college and became a veterinarian because he always loved animals. I've always questioned vet as a job choice for animal lovers purely because you'd mainly be dealing with animals that are suffering and often have to send them to the farm. The reality of it must be quite hard to take. It's an interesting one, but I think the answer is that there are 2 kinds of animal lovers, the kind who just like fluffy creatures and the likes of your Steve Irwins or your Chris Packhams who are fascinated by the natural world. My reckoning is that would-be vets often fall into the second category. I knew a genius in high school who jumped 2 grades. He was 12 as a freshman. He was first seat in symphony orchestra, attracted all the girls' attention, and excelled in every class including calculus, sub and physics too. This kid was pretty humble and introverted, but showed signs of mental illnesses like schizophrenia. I saw him last year in high school just randomly shaking his head and arm and returning back to normal like nothing had happened. That might just be Tourette's. Only about 20% of people affected with Tourette's shout profanities, but about all of them have some sort of muscle spasms. Both killed themselves. One because he was only measured by his achievements, not his personality, even at his funeral. The other one must have had mental issues no one was aware of. We did. She was one of my best friends. She went through a stoner phase, drinks like a fish, married a stripper, and now works insurance. On the other side of the spectrum, the kid who nearly failed every math class and was literally kicked out of college now makes nearly $100K a year doing web development. Life's a fucking trip. Funny hearing that and wondering where in the country you're from. $90K/year is the poverty level in SF for a single person. https://sgov.org/scorecards/safetynet/poverty San Francisco. I live in a small semi-rural Welsh village, so don't really have a decent reference point here. How can this be anything other than a massive exaggeration? SF is a city and presumably has a whole lot of people working retail and low-level service jobs that presumably pay minimum wage or as near as, damn it. Google says minimum wage there is $15.59. $15.59 times 40 times 52 equals $32,427.2. If that's 1/3 of the poverty level, then how are these people not, well, dead? Kid who made high-grade explosives. He was a little weird, socially awkward, but a nice guy. At the age where you dick around with firecrackers and match heads. He was the same, except he was smarter, not wiser, than you or me. So he ordered various chemicals from the internet. And ended up triggering the online companies into informing the police. Armed police kicked his family's door in at 3 a.m. and stormed the place. Army bomb squad examined the stuff he'd made. Apparently, it was pretty much stable plastic explosive, but still had to take it out into the fields behind his house and destroy it. He got away with little more than a caution and court-ordered counseling. Fell out of touch with him, but Facebook stalking reveals, he went to Cambridge to study physics. He now designs the software certain companies use to trade on the stock market, married the daughter of a Hong Kong investment banker, and splits his time between his apartment in Hong Kong and house in London. Greater than, but still had to take it out into the fields behind his house and destroy it. Jokes on them, that was the point. He is actually pretty lucky they took it to the fields before destroying it. Depending on the tech and department policy, some will just use a lump of explosive to blow a device up in place. My school have one, a freaking genius that excelled at every scientific subjects and entered one of the best university in my country for medical profession. Everyone in my school thought he would become a surgeon or something like that. Well, he did graduate university, but never got his license to be a proper doctor. Apparently during university, he found out that he really liked and good at boxing. Currently, about 5 years after he graduated, he had become professional athlete in boxing and won a few championship. The dude has one of the best minds I've ever seen, but apparently nothing make him happier than boxing. Who is he? They call him the brain surgeon. My classmates all thought that was me. So no, we did not have a genius in our class. My school was literally started for him. His parents had homeschooled him, and while they were both extremely intelligent, they wanted him to have a high school for some reason. So they got a charter school started his freshman year. I have no idea where he is or what he's doing. My school's genius was painfully awkward and socially inept, but still a pretty nice guy. Perfect score on the ACT and the SATs. I have no idea where he chose to go to school. He owns his own lighting design company along with his wife, who is an interior decorator. They just bought their 3rd vacation home. Good for them, I hope they're happy. I know you don't mean it like that, but this comment sounds so cynical and bitter. Lamau. Quite a few actually. We were all in the help with the answers group. Smartest guy is probably the one that did a stint at CERN as a particle physics student. Always a down-to-earth guy, even though he probably had double my intelligence.